Hello again, and today we got some wild topics to cover. As on one end, we got JID speaking on how the OGs in rap have been destroying ageism in the genre, like we've seen with the likes of Clipse, Slick Rick, Nas, Eminem and others lately. And on the other end, we got OG Snoop Dogg facing some backlash for some of the comments he made that have since gone viral that led to conclusions about how Snoop is some sellout who flip-flops depending on trends, and some of these have gone viral. And speaking on flip-flopping, we got the OG The Game, who recently fired back at Memphis Bleek over the story he shared about their beef in the past, and you could say that 50 Cent has always been right about The Game, as you'd see in a moment. And starting with JID, he spoke about how older rappers have been destroying ageism in the genre, and he dropped a couple of examples.
I love all the OGs showing us, like, they try to say rap is like a young man's game, but hey, I don't know. Yeah. Old heads like been punching this year, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I love that up in the age range, they try to put a cap on rap, you know what I'm saying? They try to put a cap on it, but they let, like,
Rolling Stones can roll out
they melting on stage. They melting on stage and they still
and people got a nurse over there.
Too hard on our,
look at Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, hell yeah,
bro. They try to put a cap on our elder statesmen when it should just be the respect and love that they can still do it. That's why the Clipse thing, that whole moment right now is beautiful, bro.
And the one thing with Clipse, man, you can't deny the music. You couldn't deny the music. Cube that dropped. Slick Rick got a project that dropped through the Nas situation.
Me and
that's
him
going
just
down.
rapped the fastest words ever. This is not even the type of song you listen to every day. This is like a cold plunge of a song. It's like, you know what I'm saying? You don't take a cold plunge every day. It's like, oh shit, what was that?
You explained that very well, bro.
It's a bumper. It's a bumper to piss you ever had. It's like, oh, I just did it because I was in Cartagena. I just did it. Get away from that shit.
Man, how does that Eminem and JID, how does that come together organically too, though?
He's such a cool dude, bro. He's such a cool dude. You wouldn't even know it. You know what I'm saying? He just loved the sport. He loved music and hip-hop and just being able to just, like, sharpen swords. So I feel like he seen me like somebody that's deemed worthy to do that. So I was like, hey, bro, I got this for you. He sent me records before. So real simple relationship when you could tell somebody, like, loves the art type shit. And I feel like he see that in me as well as I can see, like, what he's done and who he is.
Hey, man, what I love about you as well, man, is that you still you're excited about what you do.
Yeah, bro, this shit fun.
There's some boxers that, you know, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo, they're excited because they know they're good at it. And then they welcome whatever the competition, and you know what I'm saying? And it seems like you do the same.
Yeah, no, I take this shit serious. I take it serious. I don't play with it. I don't try to, like, I'm not faking anything. I do it because I love it. If I don't, and because I care about it. If I don't care about it, I'm not moving a muscle. It has to come from the heart type shit. And that's where my inspiration come from, like just me really actually caring about the sport of hip-hop.
And to be honest, even some top-tier rappers contributed to this, as we even got The Game dissing Jay-Z on It Is Okay, you're 38 and you still rapping, ugh. I'm 26, dude, so is the Dubs on the 07 Hummer. And even Eminem once rapped about how nobody wants to see your grandfather rap.
Damn.
When it is millions of fans out there today who would lose it if Eminem announced that he's retiring. But in Eminem's defense, that was aimed at a horrible rapper and not someone who ever had it to begin with. But still, you get the point. But the genre is relatively young and the foresight wasn't always there. But things have been changing lately, and today you could make a solid argument about how pretty much the best rappers are all pushing 40 and up, apart from a few exceptions here and there. And back to the snippet from JID, it seems like he underestimated just how much some fans have been listening to Animals Part 1. He's wrong about not listening to it daily though, and more, me personally, I've been listening to it every day since it dropped. And of course, some users haven't forgotten Ghostface Killer's message to M. If he can work with JID, he can work with Ghostface. I really want it to happen. And to be honest, since that interview dropped, many users on social media have stayed on Eminem's neck. Eminem needs to cut the bullcrap. Gotta start showing up and rap with top tier MCs. Tired of him always acting like, ooh, I love hip hop. Look at my shirts and my cassette collection. Shout out to XYZ. Stop talking and prove it, old man. He is one of the few rappers who could get any rapper for a feature by just making a call. Could give us an album with Kendrick, Nas, Ghostface, Andre or Boldy, but instead he gets Jelly Roll, Skylar Grey, and Bizarre. Of course, to maximize the effects of posts like these, you gotta leave out JID, Black Thought, LL Cool J, and others he's collaborated with in recent years, since the purpose of framing the post like this is to get Eminem's team to act. I get it, but what are your thoughts? And moving on, Memphis Bleek was recently on Drink Champs and he shared the story about his beef with the Game.
So let me ask you, one time we had you on the podcast, you said you met Game.
One time. But it was smoke when I met Game then. It was like, he dissed me 7,000 times. It was like, I wanted to know why.
7,000 times?
No. I met him twice.
He dissed the Young Gunners after you met the Young Gunners.
I only met him twice, yo, and that's a funny story, right? So listen, I meet JT Bigger Figure in LA. I had no idea who the Game was, nothing, but I knew who JT was because it was smoke. They thought I stole Get Low from them, but it wasn't nothing like that. Me and JT, we kicked it. So he was like, yo, it wasn't me dissing you, it's this named Game dissing you from LA. Now, mind you, Game hasn't dropped yet. So I'm like, I don't know who the Game is. Some unreleased dissing me from LA. What can I do? Whatever. So I see Game in LA. But mind you, I don't know who he is. Me and my man B.I., we sitting in LA backstage. You know, we at the tent, we at the trailer, but we sitting outside the trailer in like some lawn chairs. And walk up on me like, yo, Bleek, what up, fam? I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Gang. So I'm like, click, click, click. Oh, they said dissing me. So I stand up. What's up, fam? Why you dissing me? So he like, yo, Bleek, I ain't diss you. I never shitted on you. So I'm like, he showed mad love, everything, right? But he was saying he never dissed me. So I'm like, you ain't diss me? Cool, my his love is peace. As I was on the flight going home, he must have booked the studio session and did 45 disses. In that 6 hours it take to fly from LA to New York, when I land, yo, I had about 20 disses. Yo, Bleek, getting at you, name the Game. Like, yo, I just met homie. So I didn't know, was this before I met him or after? I had no clue. But then like 20 more discs came out. I was like, God damn, this in the studio every day.
Now, before we get to more from Memphis Bleek about this, I would say 50 Cent has got the answers he's looking for when it comes to the Game flip-flopping on him. 1 second they are cool, the next second he's got 20 diss tracks coming his way.
He says things he doesn't mean. He says a lot of things and take it back. You know, he had issues with Joe Buttons, then he runs into him in a club and they're taking pictures. He had issues with Memphis Bleek, then he ran into Memphis Bleek in Miami. It was no problem. See, I'm not a fake person. I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is. He has a lot of inconsistency.
It was one time Jay was going to he was being nominated for some MTV award, and I'm looking and they like, yo, the Game is nominated. So I told Jay, yo, I gotta go to Miami with you. And this before I knew any of the homies out here. Me and my man from the project flew out here dolo. We had no homies to call and be like, bring the pistol, pick us up. I ain't have no gun license. So this is really some story I never told nobody. We go to some knife store. I bought the illest Rambo knife. So we ride around all night looking for the Game. We gonna find this. He dissing me. What we at? We never seen the Game, right? End of the night, we like, yo, let's go back to the hotel. We get to the hotel. Who in front of the hotel? Game. With security. All his security guards was Dame security at studios Dame used to be at. So when they saw me, they like, Bleek, what up, my? Nah, ain't no time for that. So they like, yo, what's up? Who front of you? This right here. Jesus. And them like, yo, son, nah, you can't front on Bleek. Like, his security guard telling him, yo, you can't front on Bleek. That's the homie. So he like, yo, Bleek, let's, we kicked it. It wasn't nothing. But I still never got to the bottom on why he dissed me. But he a cool. Like, when I met him, it was nothing. He was like, it's just some rap shit. It is what it is. Like me, I never been on that, yo, I want to prove I'm the best, so I'm going to diss anybody who I feel like is competition. Game is on that shit. I want to know.
Game, we would love the shit.
Game, yo, cut. Yo, I got diss me, blood.
Right.
What I did to you, blood?
I mean, we've heard a lot from 50 Cent about this flip-flopping in the past.
That's my issue with Game is I don't know what happened with him, period.
I felt like when that whole thing happened, because I interviewed him after, he felt so hurt. He really looked up to you.
How could you have an assessment on a person who's flip-flopped their entire career?
I don't have an assessment. I just know.
I watched him go one way. He almost bipolar. If you watch it, like the way he does things, like he'll do it like he's extremely emotional, Then it goes to extremely aggressive.
However, there's a particular detail that bothered the game as he took to social media to react to Bleek's story with, "This dude must got amnesia. When I saw you in LA, we was 40 deep at the time and you knew exactly who I was and didn't want no type of smoke and still don't, not on a mic, not with the hands. Cut the BS, clown emoji." And the reactions to this from the game has got me rolling. Watch Game use this as a marketing publicity tactic to promote his forthcoming album, Red Rose White Ceiling. And he's gonna use the Drink Champs segment with Bleek as a skit that goes straight into a diss track, and some users are wondering what Game expected when he had 40 guys with him. He said he saw them in LA 40 deep and didn't want smoke. Who wants smoke with 40 men while working with 2 or 3? The real issue is it took 40 of them to approach one man and then act like that's how real ones get down, laughing emojis, and to use the clown emoji at the end, like if being almost 50 and acting like running up on one man with 40 dudes is a flex. From an outsider looking in, I would have assumed Game was scared if he needed a whole neighborhood. I would have assumed Game was scared if he... I would have assumed Game was scared if he needed a whole neighborhood to come with him to check one man. Now that is clown-ish, laughing emojis, but all that waffling and the game failed to answer the question, why did he feel the need to diss Memphis Bleek in the first place?
I guess we'll never know.
And moving on, Snoop Dogg landed in hot water a few hours ago over some of the comments he made on the It's Giving podcast about his experience with Lightyear in the cinema with his grandson.
Not to dog either side, no pun intended, but I do feel like because we're in this single mother epidemic where there are a lot of single moms, I think moms are raising women in their sons. I think that they're coddling their sons and they're hardening their daughters. And so I feel like we're inverted, especially in our community where women are much more masculine and men are much more feminine. And I don't like that.
See, that goes back to the presentation I spoke to you earlier. What you see is what you see. They putting it everywhere. I took my grandson to see Buzz Light.
The new Buzz, the Lightyear.
Keke Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we're watching it, and the lady, which is Keke's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she and she had a baby. They both women's. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, it fucked me. I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
What'd you tell them?
Watch the movie. Eat this popcorn. Shh. It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids that we have to show that at this age. Like
that part.
They're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
They are going to ask. I don't have the answer.
Yeah. And I don't even know the answer that's rehearsed. What am I supposed to say? What was the lady used to be I got questions. Now I got questions.
Me too. And I was just there to go to sleep and watch the movie. It woke me up. I'm in there, huh? They just said that she and she had a baby. How? They both women's. Oh, man, damn. Yeah, eat this popcorn.
Damn.
And all hell broke loose after this hit social media platforms like X. And on one end of the spectrum, he's been getting dragged and piled on by thousands. Imagine being Snoop Dogg, the face of weed and murder rap, but scared of representation in a kid's movie. Murder rap, and this one went super viral about how Snoop's opinion on these matters is pretty much to just go with the flow, depending on the trends at the time or who is in power. But on the other end, some believe being furious over this is wild. There was clearly no bigotry, hate, or intolerance in that story he recounted. He was just like, this movie is making me have to explain sexual orientations to a child, and I prefer not to do that because it is a child. This shouldn't be controversial, and that will be all for today, and I'll be looking forward to your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.